Hey guys, welcome to my new series, The Dark Side of Humanity. Today we'll be looking at two cases. One of Furuta Junko and the other of Sylvia Likens. True horrifying stories where two young lives were taken in the name of evil and sadism. Furuta Junko was born on January 18, 1971, in Misato, Saitama Prefecture, Japan. She was described as studious, well-behaved, and popular among her peers. She had goals to attend college when she graduated high school. At 17, she had just begun living her life and didn't care for relationships. This was the reason behind her tragic and torturous end. A schoolmate of hers, Miyano Hiroshi, had a crush on her and tried to ask her out numerous times. But to his misfortune, Junko wasn't interested, so she said no every time he asked. Thus, Miyano didn't take the rejection very well. Miyano devised a plan to kidnap and rape Furuta, threatening her with killing her family, as he was a member of the Yakuza. In fear for her family's life, Furuta agreed to comply and do whatever Minato told her to do. Thus, her 45 days of hell started. Furuta was kept in one of the homes that Miyano's parents owned. In order to keep her captivity a secret, Miyano told his parents that she was his girlfriend, but eventually they discovered the real truth. You would think his parents would call the police once they discovered the truth, that she was being held captive. But they didn't say a word, in fear that he would retaliate and get the members of the Yakuza to hurt them. To make things worse, Miyano forced Furuta to call her parents and tell them she was staying with a friend and was fine. At this time, a search was going on for her whereabouts, but since her parents believed she was alright, they told the police to drop the search. Once she got off the phone, she knew she was alone and sadly, she knew no one would be looking for her. As the days passed, Furuta was raped over 400 times by Miyano and 3 of his friends, Minato Nobuharu, Jo Kamizaku, and Watanabe Yasushi. Her body was mutilated each and every day. They would beat her, burn her, put wax in her eyelids, held her up and used her as a punching bag, completely ripped off her nipple, was left in a freezer or outside in the cold for hours fully naked, was urinated on, forced to eat live cockroaches and drink her own urine, had her vagina and clitoris burned with lighters and cigarettes, and was sodomized with foreign objects in her vagina and anus, such as hot-lit light bulbs that were inserted inside of her and rubbed until they broke inside. It would take Furuta almost an hour to get to the bathroom due to her injuries. Malnourished and mistreated, Furuta couldn't stomach the little food that was given to her. Therefore, she was beaten severely every time she threw up. This was Furuta's life until January 4th, 1989. The boys challenged her to a game of mahjong, a Chinese tile-based game. To their disgust, Furuta ended up winning, infuriating the 4 boys and fueling their sadism. They poured flammable liquid over Furuta's body, lit a match, and then lit her on fire as they watched her suffer for 2 hours. The boys didn't realize she was dead until 24 hours later because they thought she was just out cold. Since their victim was gone, the boys took Furuta's body, placed it in a 55-gallon drum filled with concrete, and disposed of it. All 4 were caught and tried for the murder of Furuta, but unfortunately, their sentences weren't enough to repent for their crime. Jo, Watanabe, and Minato were sentenced to less than 8 years. Miyano Hiroshi was sentenced to 20 years. Eventually, all of them were released and allowed to live the rest of their lives freely, while their victim, Furuta Junko, could not do the same. Sylvia Likens was born on January 3, 1949, in Lebanon, Indiana. She was the 3rd child, having 2 older fraternal twins and 2 younger fraternal twins younger than her, one of which was her sister Jenny. Sylvia was described as confident, well-mannered, and helpful. She would find small jobs to make some money and share her earnings with her mother. Sylvia's parents, Betty and Lester Likens, were carnival workers. Therefore, they had to move around a lot in order to make a living. In the summer of July 1965 in Indianapolis, Indiana, Lester met Gertrude Benezescu, a single mother of 7 who offered to take in Sylvia and Jenny as boarders, while Lester, his wife, and their sons traveled with the carnival. It was said that Betty Likens, Sylvia's mother, was in jail at the time for shoplifting. Lester agreed to let the girls stay with Gertrude and send $20 every week for their time under her care. As time passed and the girls stayed with the Benichescu family, they soon began to see a different side of Gertrude. The first time Gertrude did not receive the $20 from Lester as promised. She punished the girls for their father's neglect, although it turned out the check had been sent late. After this incident, Gertrude began to focus her aggression and sadistic ways on Sylvia, allowing her own children and neighborhood kids to become involved. The torture of Sylvia went on for months. She was beaten, burned with cigarettes, forced to lick the youngest living soiled diapers, had to strip naked in front of the Benichescu's children, and had the words, "I'm a prostitute and proud of it," carved on her abdomen with a heated needle. Now it makes you wonder why these children became involved in the first place. Well, it seems like Gertrude was spreading lies, saying that Sylvia was saying the lies, and that's what caused the children to feel anger towards Sylvia and felt like she deserved to be punished for what she said. Next door, neighbors were aware of what was happening to Sylvia, but didn't interfere because they were afraid of retaliation from Gertrude. Sadly, Sylvia knew she was eventually going to die from her injuries. Gertrude knew she would pass soon, so she forced the teenager to write a note to her parents that she had run away, had met up with a group of boys for sexual favors, and was then beaten and mutilated by them. Sylvia tried to escape and was able to get out of the front door, but she was caught by Gertrude. With the help of a neighborhood kid named Richard Hobbs, the two beat Sylvia with a curtain rod at the head until she fell unconscious. Unfortunately, Sylvia died on October 26, 1965, due to brain hemorrhage, malnutrition, and shock. The police were called to the home where Gertrude stuck to her story that a group of boys Sylvia had met up with had tortured her. Everyone kept silent, but Jenny, who told an officer she would tell them everything if they took her out of there. After discovering the atrocities that took place in the Benichescu home, Gertrude, her daughters Paula and Stephanie, her son John, Richard Hobbs, and Coy Hubbard were arrested for murder. Other participants in Sylvia's torture included Mike Monroe, Randy Lepper, Darlene McGuire, Judy Duke, and Anna Siskoy, who were also arrested for injury to person. There were many other children involved, but since they were minors and too young, they were not reprimanded for their actions. On May 19, 1966, Gertrude Benichescu was sentenced to life imprisonment and charged with first-degree murder. Gertrude spent 20 years behind bars and was later released on December 4, 1985 for good behavior. Although 5 years later, Gertrude passed away due to lung cancer. Thus, the story of Sylvia Likens remains one of the biggest cases in Indiana's history of crimes. When I heard about these cases, I watched documentaries, I did research, I watched movies based on these cases, and it really pulled my heartstrings to realize that these stories actually happened and that there were people that were actually involved in torturing these two innocent lives because they felt like they felt like they had the power. And it was just really sad to discover that these horrifying stories are true and that there are people out there who have that mindset and have no heart to do such a thing. This is one of the reasons I wanted to make this video and start making a series of the dark side of humanity to talk about cases like these because, you don't really hear them a lot, and if you do, you feel bad about it, but you don't really understand how painful and hurtful it must be for the family members involved, and how just imagining if that happened to someone you knew, your family member, your friend, it's terrible. So please be safe, be kind to others, and if you see that if you notice that something isn't right, please speak out about it. We're all here to live, and we only have one life, so we have to live it to the fullest. And it's not fair that somebody else is allowed to take someone else's life because they just want to. Thank you for watching The Dark Side of Humanity. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more. I will be researching and doing more videos about cases I've followed, and there are a lot of cases that I've come across that are really interesting and that really make you think and it makes you wonder, like, why these people did that, and it's really crazy. Me personally, I like investigation type of stuff, whether it's shows, movies, or even just reading articles. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope I can continue to make it and, you know, get a good audience for this series. So thank you for tuning in to the Dark Side of Humanity, and I'll see you later.